there, Sag, and welcome to your April 2020 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for artists, entrepreneurs, and anyone who's working on their creative self-expression, personal growth, or spirituality in any form. So if any of those areas of life are intriguing to you, I encourage you to go ahead and keep listening. I also want to point out that you can use these readings for your sun, moon, or your rising sign, and it's also possible if sometimes none of them resonate because they are just general readings. And a lot of times the feedback that I get is that it may not make sense in the beginning of the month, but a lot of times it does make sense at the end. So if you remember, come back to this reading and check that out and see what connections you can find. All right, so I had a really interesting experience for you, Sagittarius, for your sign. I don't seem to recall this ever having happened before, but essentially I had a dream about you guys last night. I'm going to share what came through in the dream, and then I'll also share what came through in the meditation. So you guys are kind of getting some extra messages this month, but I obviously can't not say what happened in the dream because it came through for you. So while I was asleep last night, obviously, I had a dream that this man approached me, and he had the thing that kind of stands out the most was his hair. He had kind of like a lot of dreadlocks in the hair, and he just had this very kind of strong face, like very strong characteristics. And I almost feel like if I were to kind of take a guess at what his favorite animal would be, or kind of what he is, what he kind of represents in the animal world, it would definitely be like a lion. He had just like this very like strong emphasis on his hair, his dreadlocks, and he just had this very kind of like powerful face. And he was saying, he said, tell Sagittarius to chill, tell Sagittarius to relax, tell Sagittarius that basically everything is going to be okay. So it's kind of interesting just because, you know, usually the night before I go to bed, I think about, or before I go to sleep, I think about the readings that I'm going to be doing the next day, whether that's client readings or readings for the zodiac signs. So I knew that I was going to be reading for you guys first today, but I just have never had such a direct kind of influence. I almost feel like that was a visitation in some way by someone in spirit who, you know, knows some people are going to be watching this or something like that, and just wanted to convey that message. So that was the message that came through in the dream. I hope that is helpful for someone out there. This person radiated a lot of strength, a lot of vitality, and really just a lot of like personal confidence, I want to say. Like he just radiated this sense of internal authority, you know. He just had like a very strong energy, and he's basically just saying, chill, relax, you know, everything is going to be okay. And that's the message from the dream world. So putting that aside, I know it's very unusual, but now let's get into, you know, the meditation that I just did. So while I was tuning in for you guys just now, I got a very kind of soulful energy come in, and I feel that you are potentially in April going to be given some kind of inspiration for maybe a new direction to take your career, or something to work on creatively or artistically, and it's sort of coming to you directly almost from spirit, I feel. There's something about really like opening up to a spectrum of emotional expression that you may not necessarily be as used to kind of pouring into your work, whatever kind of creator or entrepreneur or individual that you are, Sagittarius, who watches these videos. I feel like there's a sense of like going deeper in terms of the emotional connection to your work. And this could involve something, like I said, new, like something that you're doing differently, maybe a new project or something like that. Or it could be just expressing more emotions through your work. And this is coming through very beautifully. I feel like this is something that is going to give you new opportunities, and it's going to take your relationship with your work to a much deeper level, like even deeper than what you already feel that connection is about. So definitely pay attention for that. The other message that I got, sort of like at the end of the meditation, I had this impression of almost feeling guilty because you're feeling like you're being cold to someone, or like I'm picking up this energy of like, oh, I know I'm being kind of like an ice king or an ice queen right now, but I just need to do this for me. Or there's like a sense of like, oh, okay, I'm really like putting up that like front or some kind of barrier or some kind of boundary, and part of me feels conflicted about it, but like the deeper part of me knows that this is what I have to do. So if that's a situation that you can resonate with, Sagittarius, I want to say that it's okay for you to behave in a way that is the most authentic for you right now. And if that means taking a step back, or if that means shutting a door or shutting out like influence, or maybe, you know, just not engaging in communication of some kind, then I feel like that's what you have to do, obviously. So those are the meditation messages. I think it's important that you allow yourself to channel kind of your energy in a direction that maybe is taking you to an emotional depth with your creative work, or with your work in general, or just bringing more of your heart into what you do at this time, which is obviously something that is also, I think, going to be really needed in this time of great uncertainty that we have going on the planet right now. But I also feel like it's like one door is like taking you to this deeper level, and then this other door is kind of, you're like shutting yourself off from it. And what you're shutting yourself off from feels very much like lateral. It feels like it's part of your outer life, whereas like what's opening is something that takes you kind of more in a vertical direction. And by vertical, I mean like connecting to like the upper and lower kind of energetic realms of yourself. And that's going pretty far into like more shamanistic language, but taking you deeper into like your, almost like your spiritual self, or how your spirit or your soul creates through the process of expressing with your physical body. It's like, I think of that as like kind of the vertical realm, and then like our relationships that we have kind of in our outer life, that's sort of more of like the lateral or horizontal kind of realm of things. So hopefully that's helpful and not completely kind of like out of left field for you guys. And let's go ahead and get into your cards, and we'll get to your actual kind of specifics of your reading. Sagittarius. Okay, and let's take a look. Animal Spirit Oracle cards for Sag. Okay, let's take a look. And we're also going to actually get you a message from the Bob Ross Oracle deck, because this deck is just so beautiful, and he has such a beautiful spirit, and it was just lovely to use this deck last month. So, Bob Ross message for Sagittarius. Okay, let's take a look here. So we've got Nightingale as the path and Turtle as the influence. Interesting. So the visual darkness of these cards is the first thing that stands out to me. Also, the circular theme with the nightingale being perched on what appears to be a full moon. It's kind of like a symbolic image. And then also kind of the circular shell of the turtle. So there's like a cycle that you're in right now, Sagittarius. And I think that this cycle is, it does feel like it's kind of mirroring that meditation message about going deeper into something, while at the same time shutting the door to something more on the lateral level. or maybe a relationship or something like that, or feeling okay with kind of blocking out some kind of distraction, or feeling okay with blocking someone's energy out, which is not maybe something that you're like typically want to do all the time. But I see that there is definitely this like urge for you to go deeper with something in your life. And I think that you have the opportunity now. It's interesting how the themes of the cards often do reflect kind of what's going on in the outer world. And what we have going on right now is that many people are having to be at home more, and many people are social distancing and not being able to engage as much in the outer world as they're used to. And I think that these cards really like reflect the benefit that you can get from that, which with the Nightingale as your path, this does have a lot to do with self-expression. So some of you could be teaching, some of you could be using your voice in a new way. So you could be like maybe creating a webinar or workshops, or writing a book, or any other way that you can use your voice or your talents or your thoughts to uplift other people, or to even improve your own situation. These are the themes. This is a new opportunity for you. And he's sitting on top of the full moon, which for me symbolizes the completion of something, which could be like a completion of your personal growth in some way, like some area of your life. You're recognizing that you are ready to release that, or that you have undergone like a certain degree of growth and change within yourself. And this time in your life maybe represents kind of a milestone when it comes to that energy. Now, with the Turtle card as the influence, I do see that there is a theme here of story. There is a theme here of like recognizing where you've come from in a lot of ways. And again, that's hinting back at this circular imagery, cycles, returning back to a point that you've been at before in a sense, but you're like somewhere different. Because you've gone through another cycle of growth. So you're coming back to maybe the same topic or the same lesson or the same idea, but you're experiencing it from a totally new perspective, because you have gone through new things that were new to you at the time, and then that caused you to grow and change. And so now you're sort of coming back to something, I think, that is part of your story in your life. Maybe it's a theme that you've experienced in your past, but you have a totally new perspective at this point, and that could be contributing to how you decide to move forward creatively, especially with the Nightingale. It's like you're sitting on this cycle of change that you've just gone through, and you're like shouting about it, finally, like you're sharing about the experience, because you're now like able to be above it and looking at it from a different perspective, if that makes sense. So let's take a look at your cards to get some more insights into like the flow of energy of the month. Wow, so we've got Knight of Wands and Page of Wands, Knight of Pentacles and the Fool, Nine of Cups and Justice, Knight of Swords and the Star. Okay, interesting. Wow. So this is a really beautiful reading. I do see you starting something new, Sagittarius. In the beginning of April, we have the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands. So it indicates this sense as you go into April, in spite of everything that's going on externally for all of us, and the uncertainty around, the coronavirus and all of the implications of that, it's like in spite of those things, with the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands, like you're still very much in your flow of inspiration. You're still very much finding the key to your own heart. You're finding something that unlocks your curiosity, and you're acting on it. So I associate both of these cards with creativity, because they are Wands cards, but also with like embarking on a new journey with the Page of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is showing that that sense of like can-do attitude in a way. Like there's a sense of like some new seed sprouting in your life, a new path opening up for you with the Page of Wands. But then the Knight of Wands is also showing that you're taking advantage of that. Like, it's not just some seed that's kind of erupting from underneath the soil and then you're kind of just letting it die. It's like something that you're actually carrying. You're taking that little flame and you're, giving it more fuel. You're taking it and running with it, so to speak. So that's kind of the energy that we're seeing in the beginning of April. I think that would be a really good time for you to work on whatever things you have that are exciting to you as far as your creative projects, or whatever you can work on if you're working from home, or if you're working in kind of an unusual setup. I think that this is a really good time for you to be energetic about that and to just continue going, because you also have the Knight of Pentacles and the Fool showing up in the second week of April. And this is really beautiful in a lot of ways, because with it, the Knight of Pentacles, it shows, like, you had the Knight of Wands here. You also have the Knight of Swords. So you've got 3 knights in this reading, along with the Fool and the Page of Wands. So there's a sense of, when I look at these cards, it's like real progress being made, but at the same time you feel a little bit like the Fool, because maybe this is a totally new direction for you in terms of your creativity, or if you're a career person, Sagittarius, who has been asked to work from home, maybe some elements of the process are very new and feel kind of weird, and you're still kind of trying to adapt to everything. The other potential with these cards is that you are, like, whatever situation you're in, you're persisting with practical actions, persisting with your self-care, persisting with doing things in a way that is productive and also grounding for you, in spite of some emotions of like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, in spite of like feeling internally like the Fool, externally your energy is manifesting more like the Knight of Pentacles. So what feels like a foolish path, or what feels like a path of uncertainty, is actually, in practical terms, manifesting in a way that is going to be providing lasting benefit for you. And it's actually something that I think is in alignment with what is going to produce a better life for you in some way. So don't feel discouraged if you are feeling a bit like the Fool, or if you are dealing with the unknown in some significant manner, because I think that the way that you're responding to that emotion and the way that you are taking action in response to like the situation that you find yourself in is actually creating more stability for you in your life, which is supporting you further and further on this idea of like going on a new adventure. And the image that was just given to me, like kind of psychically, I guess, as I said that, was like the Fool taking more steps, and then as he takes another step, it's like the cliff generates underneath his feet. So he's taking a step and it looks like he's about to fall off the cliff, but then the cliff kind of springs up, the next step springs up from underneath him, and then he gets to take that step. So that was just kind of given to me like really quickly. So that's something to also be aware of, is that sometimes you don't necessarily know like what the heck you're doing or where you're going. And you may feel like you're reacting sort of spontaneously or wildly or very creatively to life. But from another like higher perspective, you can actually, like your higher self can see that the steps that you're taking now are actually the most practical steps that you could be taking, even if to your ego self or your kind of like usual mindset, it seems haphazard. What seems haphazard at this level actually makes perfect sense at a higher level. So that's kind of what I see in your energy around that full moon in Libra, which is actually happening in your 11th house. So that's really beautiful, because it can bring in change when it comes to your like friend circle or your colleagues or people that you network with. And obviously for many of us right now, that's probably going to be online networking, given that many of us are not able to socialize right now. But I do think that this could represent like some help as well coming to you in that way, or a summing up of those relationships that you do have, so that you can start a new cycle with a broader network perhaps. So I want to also now look at the third week of April, because you have Justice and the Nine of Cups. So this is about wishes being, like prayers being answered by the cosmos. For me, justice is one of the cards that represents universal forces or impersonal forces. So this is a situation that is actually, I feel, in the third week of April, it's really working out in your favor. You can expect some kind of improvement in your life, something for the better. But I feel like this is not a situation that you have influence over, because it's justice, which is like a very high, like impersonal energy. It's like the cosmic balance, you know, of the universe. And when you have the Nine of Cups, it's like you happen to, for whatever reason, be in a situation to benefit from the tipping of those cosmic scales, right? And that's not always going to be the case for us. So, you know, sometimes we're affected by impersonal forces that we don't have control over in a more negative way. For example, what is going on globally for humanity right now, individuals don't necessarily have control over the fact that this is going on. So in that sense, we could say, you know, we're kind of collectively being impacted by this idea of a pandemic, and we don't necessarily have control over it in the way that we would like to. But as individuals, for you, Sagittarius, in the third week of April, some kind of cosmic scale is tipping in your favor. So this is something to be appreciative of when it happens. This is something to recognize as a gift for you from the universe. It's not the type of thing that you can predict for yourself necessarily, like all the time. So when you do get that like judgment that falls in your favor, or you know, something works out for you unexpectedly, or there's a gift that comes to you from the universe, and perhaps in a very synchronistic way as well, really spend some time in appreciation, and also try and maybe pass on that good energy. If it's a financial thing, maybe, you know, support your local homeless shelter or animal shelter, or, you know, pass on a little bit of that goodness, maybe do a good deed that day, because the universe is kind of granting you something. And in order to really like show the universe that you appreciate it and you're receiving it, I think that you could get a lot of joy also from sort of passing on that good energy, or sharing about it and letting other people know, like, you know, that you kind of, that you're like, that the universe kind of feels like it's responsive in a way, or like there's something beneficial that can come through energetic means, like purely energetic means, which, you know, reinforces your faith, I think, in that third week of April. So by the end of April, we've got the Star and the Knight of Swords. And, you know, the other thing that I was seeing was that just the directional aspecting of these cards, the Knight of Swords came up pointing at the Justice card. And then you have the Star after that. So it shows me that actually like the whole second half of the month is probably going to be characterized by this Justice, Nine of Cups energy, this like sense of like a cosmic energy being able to grant a wish or answer a prayer that you have. And then by the end of the month, you're still very much focusing on that. And again, you know, like I just mentioned, like your faith being stronger, we see that theme very clearly with the Star card. So there's a sense, as well as I'm looking at this, that kind of reminds me of that sort of interesting thing that happened with the dream where I dreamt for you guys last night, with the Star. Again, like with that energy of the individual that came through in the dream, whether that was just like an energy that I was translating, you know, in my subconscious mind, or it was actually like a spirit that came through for you, which I think is very possible. The Star card is kind of echoing that message of tell Sagittarius to relax, tell Sagittarius to chill, tell Sagittarius like that everything is going to be okay, because there is, with the Star card again, this energy similar to the Justice card of like influences that we don't have control over. The universe itself is alive, and there's a sense of really when we make the connections between the stars and our own life, for example, with astrology, or, you know, any number of divinatory practices, really, where we're seeing a pattern in one area of life and we're recognizing, you know, the connection to that pattern in another area of our life. That's that's something that we don't have yet the scientific verification for. So it can feel almost like it's something like lifting us up into a greater sense of faith. We can feel like we're recognizing the personal power of subjective synchronistic experiences. We're recognizing that when we have these intersectional moments of meaning, right, that happen, we begin to really trust in ourselves and in life, but also in the continuity of life itself, the flow of the fact that we're all in this quantum field and energy never is destroyed or created, it just changes form. So there's something with the star card at the end of the month for you, especially with like the Knight of Swords aiming at this Justice card, that I feel like you personally, Sagittarius, are in this very open, spiritually enlivened state where you're very aware that things are working out exactly as they need to. You're very, very, like on a super gut level, you're absolutely trusting that. So that's kind of what I see at the end of the month. It's a very powerful energy. Now let's take a look at your Bob Ross message. He says, just go out and talk to a tree. Make friends with it. So nature itself is going to be a really beautiful form of relaxation into that trust that was coming through. I feel like that message of trust, that message of, being moved by spirit, being moved by like what feels like your soul's energy. I think that is really the focus, and it's so much easier to tap into that when you are going out into nature. So if you have access to some nature, access to a tree, maybe it's time to go out and have a conversation with a tree. Nothing wrong with having a friend that is a tree. So Sagittarius, I hope this reading has been beneficial to you. It was a very spiritual reading, so hopefully, you did get some messages that would be helpful enough for you in terms of your practical life experience, but I think that they're all kind of connected, right? I mean, when we're in that kind of open place, like the Fool and the Star, but we're also, like following the actions that part of us is initiating us to, that's really how we fuse. That's the cross, right? The Celtic cross. That's where the intersection, happens. So I think that this is going to be a really beautiful month for you, Sag. I think you're going to feel very supported and loved by the universe. So definitely spread that love around as you feel inspired to, and also make sure that you're taking really good care of your physical body, your physical health, and your general spiritual self-care as well. Sending so much love and light to you. I hope that you have an amazing month. If you'd like to join us for the April Fool's Journey, I'll put that information below the video. It's a free journey through the major arcana that I'm doing over on Instagram, and I will be doing videos and lives as well. So I'll put that information below the video if you'd like to follow along. And I'm sending you so much love. Take care of yourselves, and definitely leave me a comment below if you enjoyed this reading. Leave me a little Sagittarius emoji or a little fire emoji if you'd like. Those things really help my channel, and it really supports my videos and the algorithms, and it also just brings a smile to my face and makes me just very aware of how much you guys are in this with me and that you're with me to the end. All of that stuff is super helpful and just brightens my day. Also, you can like this video, follow my channel, sign up for notifications by hitting the bell. All those things are really awesome too. Sending you big love. Hope you have an awesome month, Sag, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.